Turtle Sub. In 1775, someone looked at a wooden barrel and thought this should go underwater and blow up a battleship. Astonishingly, they built it. The Turtle was the world's first combat submarine, a one-man wooden pod shaped like two turtle shells bolted together. Inside, a single operator did absolutely everything at once. He cranked one propeller to move forward, another to go down, steered with his feet, pumped water in and out by hand, and had roughly 30 minutes of air before suffocating. In 1776, Sergeant Ezra Lee piloted it under a British warship in New York Harbor to screw a bomb into its hull. The screw wouldn't bite. He tried again, still nothing. Out of air and out of time, he fled, released the bomb, and it exploded harmlessly in the water. A total failure, and also the moment underwater warfare was born.
Flying sub. In the 1960s, an American company called Convair designed something that had never existed before, an aircraft that could dive beneath the ocean. They called it the Sub-Plane. The reason was the Cold War. Soviet submarines were getting quieter and harder to find, and the US Navy wanted something that could reach them fast, then hunt them silently from below. A ship was too slow. A plane couldn't dive, so Convair built both into one machine. It had 3 turbojet engines mounted on top, sealed by covers when submerged. In the air, it could fly at around 300 miles per hour, with a range of 600 miles. To dive, it would land on the water, flood its ballast tanks, and switch to electric motors, crawling underwater at 5 knots, down to about 22 meters. It would carry torpedoes, a 2-man crew, and could even rescue downed pilots without ever being seen. Magazines printed cutaway diagrams, models were built. The Navy was interested. And then someone did the math. A good plane needs to be light. A good submarine needs to be heavy. You cannot be both. The subplane was never built, which is probably for the best.
Disc sub. Yes, someone built a flying saucer and sent it to the bottom of the sea. The SP-350 Denise, nicknamed the Diving Saucer, was designed by Jacques Cousteau in 1959. It was 3 meters wide, shaped like a squashed disc, and moved by shooting jets of water out of nozzles like an underwater squid. Inside, 2 people lay flat on their stomachs, chest down, staring out through portholes at the seafloor 350 meters below. There was no steering wheel and no propeller. To turn, the pilot rotated the water jets. To dive or rise, he moved lead weights around. It was cramped, awkward, and looked absolutely ridiculous. It also made hundreds of dives, filmed the deep ocean for the first time, and proved something important. A submarine doesn't have to look like a submarine.
Human torpedo. This isn't a submarine. It's a coffin with an engine. Near the end of the Second World War, Japan was losing badly, and its Navy made a decision that still disturbs historians. They took a standard torpedo, stretched it to nearly 15 meters, hollowed out a space in the middle, and put a man inside. It was called the Kaiten. The pilot climbed in through a hatch, which was then sealed from the outside. There was no escape hatch, no ejection system. He would steer it toward an enemy ship at 30 knots, staring through a tiny periscope, and detonate on impact. Over 100 young men died in them, many during training, some sealed inside on the ocean floor. Militarily, it accomplished almost nothing. It sank a handful of ships. It remains one of the darkest things ever built to travel underwater.
Carrier sub. What if a submarine could carry an air force inside it? Japan built exactly that. The I-400 was the largest submarine on Earth for half a century, 122 meters long, over 6,500 tons submerged, with a crew of 144. But the real madness sat on its deck. A watertight hangar, 34 meters long, holding 3 folded-up bombers. The submarine would surface, roll them out, unfold their wings, and launch them off a catapult ramp. Its range was 37,000 miles. That's 1.5 times around the planet without refueling. The plan was to sail across the Pacific and bomb the Panama Canal, or drop plague-infected fleas on American cities. The war ended first. The Americans captured them, studied them, and then sank them in deep water, so the Soviets could never see what Japan had built.
Ball sub. This thing looks like a blimp that swallowed a wrecking ball, and it went deeper than any human had ever gone. The Bathyscaphe Trieste wasn't a submarine, it was a submarine's insane cousin. A giant float tank filled with gasoline for buoyancy, and hanging beneath it, a steel sphere just 2 meters across with walls 13 centimeters thick. 2 men squeezed inside. In January 1960, Jacques Piccard and Don Walsh dropped into the Mariana Trench and kept falling. Nearly 11 kilometers down. The pressure at the bottom is over 1,000 times what you feel right now, enough to crush a car into a soda can. On the way down, a window cracked. They kept going anyway. They spent 20 minutes at the bottom of the world, then came back up. Nobody repeated it for 52 years. Rescue sub. This is the DSRV Mystic, a deep submergence rescue vehicle built by the United States Navy in 1971. It was designed for one job: rescuing sailors trapped inside a sunken submarine. The Mystic is 15 meters long, weighs about 32 tons, and carries a crew of 4. It can dive to a depth of around 1,500 meters, powered by electric motors and steered with side thrusters. Underneath is a special docking skirt that seals directly onto a submarine's escape hatch, even on the ocean floor. Once sealed, it can pull up to 24 survivors inside and carry them back to the surface. It's small enough to be flown anywhere in the world by cargo plane or launched from another submarine at sea. For decades, the Mystic stood ready as the Navy's lifeline for its submarine crews. Ghost Sub. This submarine sank 3 times, and every single time, it took its crew with it. Meet the H.L. Hunley, built by the Confederacy in 1863. It was barely a submarine at all, a 12-meter iron tube, just over a meter wide, with 8 men crammed inside turning a hand crank to spin the propeller. No engine, no air supply, just muscle and hope.